Hey, this is Brock Lemires, and in this video I'm going to go over lab 3.1 on standard output with integers. So the objective of this lab is just to give you a little bit of experience playing around with printf statements and specifically using the integer data type. So we're just going to do a variety of print statements, and we're going to look at things like different formats you can use and different ranges, and so make you think a little bit about it. Okay, so after doing this lab, you should be able to define an int and a short. Remember, an int is a 32-bit whole number that can take on negative and positive, and a short is a 16-bit that can take on negative and positive, okay? And what we want to look at here is what happens when sometimes you have a number that might not fit in one of these data types, okay? So what you're going to do is go through the activities, and you're going to deliver a screenshot of your output and then also your source code file. So what we're going to do is you're going to start in Windows, go into your CSCI 109 file and make a folder called lab03 p1_files. That's where you're going to save your screenshot and bring back your source code using secure copy, and you'll have that at the end. And then once you have those in Windows, you'll upload them to Brightspace. So go ahead and log onto the server, create a new folder for today's lab called lab03 p1_std out for standard out. And over here, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to show you what the output looks like, just so that you can see what the end is before you actually do the whole thing. So I'm in this directory that I just told you to create, and I have my source code and I've already compiled it. Okay, so it's called int_range.c, and what I want you to do here is, first of all, create a nice common header like normal, like you do in every program. But this is now, you're not just coding along. I want you to put a real format header on here. So your name, the class, the lab, the date, and give a little description of what's going on. Then of course include the standard io.h header file to bring in printf, and then start your main function. Okay. Then what I want you to do is I want you to create three variables of type int, three variables of type short, and I want you to call them var1, var1 max, var1 max error, var2, var2 max, var2 max error. Okay, and then I want you to initialize them. The first one I want you to put var1 I want you to put is 22, var2 is 22. But then what I want you to do is I want you to figure out what the maximum decimal value that could be held in var1 max will be. Okay, so I want you to go back to the equations for the range of a 32-bit integer and figure out what the maximum value is. Okay, it's going to be some big number, right? And I want you to type that in there. Okay, and then what I want you to do is I want you to type in that same value plus 1. So if you add 1 to that maximum value, what I want you to do, what'll happen is that when you print it, it won't give you the correct result because it doesn't fit in that variable space. And when I say plus 1, I don't want you to add 1 to it in C. I want you to just manually add to it. So for example, if you calculated the maximum value that could stick in here is like 1,000, for max 1 error, you'd put 1,001, like you'd physically type that in. And what I'm trying to show is I'm trying to show that the maximum value will fit and print correctly, and the maximum value, even if you go one more, won't print correctly. And then I want you to do the same thing for var2, var2 max, and var2 max error, but only for a short data type, which is going to be a 16-bit. Okay. And then what I want you to do is I want you to come down here and I want you to print all these statements. So I want you to say, this is going to be, make sure you print, the return right here or an extra space, and then the value of var1 in decimal, hex, octal, type in base 10, base 16, base 8, and then is tab over. So everything's nice. And you will then have these numbers. The max value an int can hold in decimal is, and you're going to put the values in var1 max. Now, I'm not going to show them to you. Okay, I'm not going to show them to you because that's part of the lab. And so I'm not going to run mine because it actually has the right answers in here, but this is exactly what you're going to have. And so this will show you what it is in decimal, and then you just use the format specifier for hex to show the exact same information in hex. Then I want you to print the exact same thing, but only do it for var1 max. And what's going to happen is that the value right here is not going to be accurate. It'll be some wacky number, and you're like, what happened? Then do the exact same thing for var2, and then var2 max, and then var2 error. This is the output. You're going to look like this, and then over here where I say you're going to print, like physically type in the printf statement, what the number should be. And then over here, you'll print what is actually shown when you do the printf with the format specifiers. Okay. So for example, over here where I say you would actually say, for example, 22 shows up. I would type 22 shows up as, and then over here, I would use %D. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, life is good. And then once you're done, you get that exact same results, except you're gonna have values here, and they should make sense. Then you save it off, take a screenshot of that, save it as your first name, last name, underscore labp1.jpg. Do it a JPEG, please. And then copy it, save that JPEG in your Windows file, then secure copy back to your source code, and then you're done. All right, that is Lab 3.1.